Hello gamer friends, it's Lady Pelvic back with Pelvic Gaming bringing you a review on Legend of Mana. Don't know what's up with all the snaps. Now on this episode we are bringing it back to the 2000s when Legend of Mana was first released for the PlayStation, the first one. This is my first Mana game and I have to say I absolutely love it. I know I'm 16 years late, but hell, better late than never. I'm excited to show you guys what this Legend's all about. So the main story is actually pretty vague. It shows the tree of mana dying, burning out, and during the death of the tree, apparently there's a war between humans and fairies. Again, super vague story. It's pretty much hinted that you, the silent and nameless protagonist, tasked themselves with restoring the tree of mana. So you're probably thinking, man, that's a basic story. Well, you see, Legend of Mana isn't about so much getting to the ending as it is the journey. Legend of Mana doesn't just sit on one story, rather a collection of stories. The best way I could describe it is imagine a book of fairy tales. So many different stories in one book. In Legend of Mana, so many stories in one game. There are several side stories, then you got the 3 main side stories, and then you got the main story. And I enjoyed every main side story more than the main story. Even the side stories had a warm place in my heart. Each remarkable story has such notable, fun, and reoccurring characters. One story has you slaying dragons to bring back a fallen dragon. Another is an awkward love triangle, and the final one is to help a dying bejeweled race called Jumi. All the stories are so great and engaging, and you easily fall in love with all the characters in the worlds you journey in. I highly encourage you to complete each main side story before completing the main story and beating the game. If you don't, you'll be missing out on so much of what makes this game so amazing. The gameplay was one of the more notable things about this game. It's a JRPG, but it plays like a beat-em-up. At first, I gotta admit, I wasn't sure I was gonna like it, but to my surprise, after warming up a bit, I really enjoyed it. And get this, it's multiplayer too. You end up smashing the attack button and your special gauge fills up, then you can unleash a power attack. And if you're close to a character while you attack, you get special perks. However, even without a partner, which is how I played it, this game is pretty easy to go through solo, bosses and all. My only complaint with any side-scroller beat-em-up is the depth perception. I personally always have a hard time figuring out what kind of lane I'm in, if I'm in the right lane to hit the enemy or not. Enemies dropped items and experience, and I have to say one thing that pissed me off is either A, I had to physically collect my experience before it disappeared. It didn't even come to me if I got close enough. I straight up had to pluck it off the ground. Or B, sometimes the enemies would only drop money or items and no experience. I was in no way, shape, form, or fashion down with that. I did the battle, so I should naturally gain experience. You already know, your girl only fights for experience. Everything else is just gravy. Other mechanics of the game feature you creating your own world. You find artifacts so you can place them on the map. While there is no straightforward hint to where to place the world, placement could lead to certain quests. It does get a little frustrating watching the animation of traveling between worlds as you revisit them all so frequently. These strikingly imaginative lands all have a unique culture and story behind it. No world is quite like the other. The civilization, the design, the language, the values, and so on. Every world has a story worth diving into. And when you entered an area that was more of a dungeon than a town, sometimes it was so detailed you couldn't tell what was a path and what wasn't. Still, a beautiful world to explore. The inhabitants of the world have lively animations, lighthearted humor, and it was just so easy to get sucked into every character's livelihood. Some will even travel with you, or a step further, live with you. In these worlds you'll also find monster eggs that you have to kind of bring them in with some food. Then with a strict diet, be sure to raise them to be a strong and faithful companion. The same thing goes with creating golems, but rather than a diet, you build them with quality materials. Along with raising and creating comrades, you can create better equipment, or upgrade what you already have. The graphics. Sprites age beautifully, I gotta say. I could tell what each character was, and a few times I had to question it, not because it looked awful, it was more like, does this chick really have grapes on her head for hair? I just wanted to make sure I wasn't crazy, But I absolutely loved the look of this game, from the towns to the dungeons. Again, sometimes the dungeons were overwhelmingly detailed, but damn did it look good. The towns all were different looking, painted with different colors, various shaped buildings. The colors could be bright and friendly or dark and mysterious, and it perfectly painted the vibe of the land. And inside a home, it looked homey. Inside a bar, it looked like a bar. I know it sounds silly, but some games don't do a very good job providing a convincing atmosphere, and this game did that above and beyond. And there were even some subtle references to some popular games. The character design has to be my absolute favorite thing in this entire world. One of my biggest gripes in gaming is the characters all look the same, especially in JRPGs. Think of every anime you've ever watched, you could think of at least one character from a different anime that looks just like said character. Not this game though. This game's cast as pirate penguins, humans with oversized ears, teddy bears, literal teddy bears. I can't remember a game with multiple visually diverse non-playable characters. Many of the characters are anthropomorphic, or just straight up animals. But not even all the humans look the same is what got me, and it was just so refreshing. Also, I absolutely love the animation of the enemies when they get hit, or the character expressions in general. Like for pixel art, they conveyed a lot. And the final bit, the music. The music in Legend of Mana was nice. There was maybe a song or two I'd go back to, but overall, it's a traditional sounding JRPG. And I don't mean to say that like a bad thing, but there was nothing exactly special about it. Although, I do have to give credit to the battle themes, boss or not, they were always awesome. Like, I always felt engaged. Being said, the song that captivated my attention the most was the cliff town of Gato. It's very whimsical and minimal sounding up until you hear the pounding of the drums and the dinging of the bells. Like, it suddenly becomes hard-hitting and authoritative sounding. I really liked it, and I hope you guys do too. Definitely recommend Legend of Mana. This game gets about a 9.5 out of 10. My only gripe is the main story gets so little attention. It's like every other tale in this game got all the love, all the attention, all the fine details, whereas the main story was kind of like, hey yo, here's the main story because you need a main story. So I found that kind of silly, but at the end of the day, when you buy an album and there's just one song on the album you don't like, it doesn't make it a bad album, you just don't like that one song. So I just didn't really care for the main story, but everything else was great. If you're craving some old school JRPGs, some vibrant characters, some unforgettable stories, definitely do yourself a service and play this game. Even though Legend of Mana is considered the black sheep of the Mana series, I'm really glad it was my first game, and I can recommend it to other people. This game honestly has me excited to play other Mana games. Like, apparently Secret of Mana is where it's at, so that's gonna be my next one, hopefully. Now, let me know in the comments below, what is your favorite side quests in video games? Just give me a few. Give me like a list of top 5s or something, because this game is just littered with side quests. This game is like, side quests have never been so prominent and enriching in a game like this. So I am eager to read your answers. Thank you, you awesome possums, for watching. If you like this video, maybe you should check out my other reviews by clicking the top box, and take a peek at my Let's Play channel on the bottom box. And if you like me and the words that come out of my mouth, maybe you should subscribe. Just a suggestion, just the suggestions. Anyways, you guys rule. Mwah. My favorite side quest. Take this as like a fill-in answer, but I really like the side quest of Majora's Mask. Camaro's mask, getting his mask, which really is just talking to someone, then talking to someone else and fulfilling their needs and whatever. But I just really enjoyed that. I think I really just like seeing Link dance. Side quest.